It's just common sense.
What do
You'd
you
be
say
stupid
to the
not
people that don't believe that there is such a thing of ethical or compassionate capitalism? And there's many people today that are espousing Marxism, and they're espousing some sort of a socialist society where they believe that capitalism has screwed people over and eliminated the middle class. And
there are absolutely problems with capitalism. I think monopolies are a problem. I think that crony capitalism is a problem with the government, kind of gets in bed with them and sort of forces things. I think the bankers have really, raped society, and the rest of us are suffering for
Literally.
it. Yeah, they've essentially taken huge risks where they privatize the gains and they socialize the losses. So when it fails, they basically get bailed out and bankrupt everybody else. So capitalism has gotten a really bad name. Let's talk about it as free exchange, free markets. Free markets and free exchange are intrinsic to humans. From when the first person started a fire and somebody came along with a deer and said, hey, if I cook my deer on your fire, I'll share some of it with you, right? So specialization of labor, we trade, that's built into the human species. Basic math comes from accounting, keeping track of debts and credits and so on. We need to be able to engage in free trade. The correct criticism of capitalism is when it does not provide equal opportunity. And so we should always strive to provide equal opportunity. But people confuse that with equal outcome. When you have equal outcome, that can only be enforced through violence, because free people make different choices. And when they make different choices, they have different outcomes. And if you don't let them suffer the consequences of bad choices or reap the rewards from good choices, then you are forcibly redistributing through violence. It's interesting that there are no working socialist examples that exist without violence. You basically need someone to show up with a gun and say, okay, you're not allowed to do that. You hand this over to that person. So one of the reasons why I do this podcast is because I believe everybody can be wealthy. Everybody. It's not a zero-sum game. It is a positive-sum game. You create something brand new. You exchange it with me for something brand new I've created. There's higher utility for both of us. The sum of the value created is positive. It's not like status, where it's like you're higher up, I'm lower down. You're president, so I must be vice president. You're a +1, I'm a -1, and has to cancel to zero. We should be all for playing positive-sum ethical games. The problem is because of these looters who have ruined capitalism's name, that then you get socialists coming in and saying, burn the whole system down.
Right.
You burn the whole system down, we end up like Venezuela or the former Soviet Union. You don't want to be a failed socialist states with emaciated teens hunting cats in the streets to eat, right? That's literally what happens in some of these places. So I think it's very important not to destroy the engine of progress that brought us here.
Yeah, the idea that socialism just hasn't worked yet. That it needs to, we just need to do it right. If we do it right, we can. Have you ever had a debate?
100 million dead, and
well,
let's keep trying.
All over the world, and every single time it's been implemented. Have you ever had a conversation with someone who's a socialist?
Many times. Some of my better friends are socialists.
Really?
So we really get into it. Yeah.
And what is there? I mean, does anyone have a compelling perspective at all?
I think really socialism comes from the heart. Right? We all want to be socialist. Capitalism comes from the head, because there are always cheaters in any system.
Yes.
And there's incentives in any system. So when you're young, if you're not a socialist, you have no heart. When you're older, if you're not a capitalist, you have no head. Right? You haven't thought it through. So I understand where it comes from. I always liked Nassim Taleb's framing of this, where he said, with my family, I'm a communist. With my close friends, I'm a socialist. At my state level politics, I'm a Democrat. At higher levels, I'm a Republican, and at the federal level, I'm a libertarian. Right? So basically, the larger the group of people you have massed together who have different interests, the less trust there is, the more cheating there is, the better the incentives have to be aligned, the better the system has to work, the more you go towards capitalism. The smaller the group you're in a kibbutz, you're in your commune, you're in your house, you're in your tribe, by all means, be a socialist. With my aunts, with my brother, with my cousins, with my uncles, with my mom, with my family, I'm a socialist. That's the right way to live a loving, happy, integrated life.
Yes.
But when you're dealing with strangers, I mean, you want to be a real socialist? Great. Open all your doors and windows tomorrow. Please, everybody, come take what you want. See how that works out.
Yeah.